watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leck, and this is Rope Break. How's every one of you guys doing, family? Hope you're doing well. Tuesday morning, Monday Night RAW review. You already know what it is. But, I must admit, for Monday Night RAW and a go-home show, I wasn't really expecting much. But coming off, the heels of that episode we got on Friday for Smackdown, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, we knew that there was going to be 2 championship matches. So, a lot of intrigue. Was it going to be Randy Orton going into that feud or, the hot feud everybody was talking about, Roman and Drew? Is that what they were going to go with? And, spoiler alert, everybody should know it by now. That is what we're going to see. So this was actually a really good episode of Monday Night Raw. I have a little bit here and there where I'm like, this was kind of lame. This was kind of stupid. No 24/7 championship garbage. There was really no useless match, only 1 or 2, but it affected Survivor Series, so it was like, okay, it's justifiable. So this was a really good show, but this is the start of the week, so don't forget to check out any of last week's videos if you haven't already. Obviously Monday Night Raw with yours truly, Jean-Paul Leck. Then of course we have NXT, AEW, SmackDown, NXT UK, and of course Turning Point for Impact. Check that out. Really fun network, or not network, whatever they call it, network exclusive or whatever for Impact. So that was really good. But enough of that. Let's get into the Monday Night Raw review. So show opens up. McIntyre's making his way to the ring. They just pretty much just show little clips and highlights from his confrontation with Roman. And then when he actually enters the ring, he says that he wants to remind the viewers that Survivor Series is pretty much, on Thanksgiving. He's like, I lived here for a third of my life. I love Thanksgiving. And then he lists off all the things that he's thankful for. He's like, my family, my family, fans, friends, and the intimate, setting of the Thunderdome, because now he feels like the fans are actually with him. And then he goes on saying that he's thankful for also the doubters, who pretty much said he would never make it. His career's over. Like the first time, he's like, hey, read between the lines, so that was really cool. I like that. And he's like, speaking of doubters, Roman. And he's like, I don't care, he's like, oh, Roman, who he doesn't care about anyone else. I'm going to claymore him back to earth and I'm going to humble him. So again, they're really going for that feud. And I do like it because it's legitimate, because it's two like just the top guys. Like I said to Juan, I believe I said in SmackDown, they're 1A and 1B for like who's the top guy in WWE. So of course everybody wants to see that feud. And then he says, as he's going to try to call out Randy Orton, that's when Randy Orton appears on the screen. And he's like, you know what I'm thankful for? I'm thankful for being a 14-time WWE champion. He says he's also unfazed by all the fines, or the fine that was laid down on him last week for putting his hands on Anna Pierce. And he's like, because I've been getting fined for 20 years. And he's like, I've been suspended and sitting on my couch for a longer period of time than, 80% of the roster have spent in the ring. He's like, and I'm still employed and I'm still the best because, WWE knows it. I know it. And then he closes his statement by saying that he's going to be, beating McIntyre tonight. And then, Drew takes the mic and he goes, oh, you forgot to say the most dangerous letter is RKO. He's like, we've been doing this same song and dance for months. He's like, I'm sick of this. Like tonight it ends. And then, of course, that's when the Miz's music hits. And it was a legit promo and stuff. And then when the Miz comes out, it's like, I've been saying for weeks, the Miz is the comedy, but he's the threat because he has that Money in the Bank briefcase. But this was just a really good promo. And then when the Miz came out, I was like, it just kind of killed the vibe for me a little bit. But he comes out. And he said the possibilities of change tonight are endless. And then he teases he's going to cash in the Money in the Bank during the championship match tonight. Morrison also reminds McIntyre that The Fiend didn't show his face last week because he was afraid of The Miz. And then The Miz, teases again, change is coming, whether he likes it or not. And he continues to verbally just like put down McIntyre, saying that tonight, he's going to be the one laughing all the way to the bank. So good opening segment, even with The Miz and stuff, at least he closed it good. Pretty much saying he was teasing the cash in. We didn't get that, and I'll get to why I think we didn't get it in a minute, which I'm fine with. I know some people are like, really, we've seen this, but like I said, I'll get to there when we get there. So good opening segment. Then we see backstage Lana. She's going to be in the 6-woman tag match alongside Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and she actually requested this match. She said, hey, I saw the 6-man tag match last week, and I won't be like Randy Orton. Don't worry, I'll tag in. And they're just like, okay, how about you just be like Randy Orton and not tag yourself in because we don't need you. You'll just get in the way. So then we get this match. And, I mean, they were going against Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, and Asuka. So one superstar, one, middle of the road, she's getting there, and then one kind of like, on the bottom. But, I don't want to just shit on Dana Brooke, but, I mean, she's, it is what it is. This match, it intrigued me as much as that 6-man tag from last week intrigued me. It didn't really matter, didn't really mean anything. And the only thing with this is, just they kind of, where Shayna does that stomp on Mandy Rose's arm, she did that to her arm again. So then storyline, unless her arm was legitimately hurt and she didn't really want to wrestle, which we know she suffered the injury last week, but then she wrestled in this match, so I assume she was fine. So, but after she got that stomp, she was, later on taken out of the Survivor Series, so she wasn't going to be in that match, so they had to replace her. So she was pretty much out of this thing at this point. And then at the end of this match, Nia Jax is on the outside. She distracts Asuka. Shayna puts on the Kirifuda clutch. But as she did that, Lana tagged herself in. So the ref's like, no, you got to let go. Shayna, you're not legal. And she's like, what? And then Asuka, she ends up getting the Asuka lock on Lana. And then Lana is forced to submit. So the heels lose here. It's Lana's fault. So what do you think happens after this? Post-match, Nia Jax like, you know what? Hey, I'm proud of you. And like, she's like, okay, no, we're good. You were good. Come here. And then she's like, nope, just kidding. Psych, puts her through the announce table. So that was what it was. Like I said, the only thing of note in this match was Mandy Rose is out of the Survivor Series match. So then back to the ring, we see the men's team for Survivor Series. They're still, obviously not working together. Like I said, on Raw, that's the main storyline is, and now on SmackDown too for the men, like none of them really get along. So they're just, all screaming at each other. And AJ says, hey, the team's ego's getting in the way. And he's like, I'm the captain. So, I got to settle this down. And Sheamus again yells at him. He's like, you're not my captain. And then they all start screaming again. And then AJ says that if they continue to fight, they're going to lose. And he's like, I know that none of you guys want to lose. You all hate losing. So we need a tune-up match, a match to really get ready, not against each other, but somebody else. So we're going to be facing Retribution tonight. And then that if they follow his lead, they'll be fine. So then Riddle starts calling the nicknames again, and then they all get pissed and they all walk off. So then Riddle, he looks at AJ and he's like, hey, I have a nickname for your bodyguard. And he's like, what? Don't even look at him. Don't even talk to him. He's like, he doesn't even speak English. And then he's like, of course I do. And then AJ's like, why didn't you tell me? And then he's like, well, you never asked. And then he's like, oh, I have so many questions. So like AJ's great. And this whole bickering, I mean, it's funny, but it just doesn't, it's not going to lead to a good Survivor Series match, because you're going to have the teams fighting with each other instead of fighting the other team. So that to me is a little weak for Survivor Series. I really always enjoyed this classic Survivor Series team matchup. So it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting at least a match that's, like a callback to them. It's going to, like I said, they're going to be more fighting with each other, but we'll see how it goes. So then back live after that, we see Dana Brooke. She's asked how Mandy Rose is doing. And before she can really say anything, she's attacked by Reckoning or Mia Yim. And she beats the shit out of her, kind of kicks her head into like production crates. They were on wheels and stuff. And so like that actually took her out of the Survivor Series match as well. So that tag team is taken out. And as much as I'm like not the biggest Dana Brooke fan, I thought this was going to be a good showing for those two because they're a tag team. They would have worked together in the match, probably looked pretty strong because I feel good they're the next team to get the tag titles. So to take them both out, I don't understand that. Unless, like I said, Mandy Rose is legitimately injured and they didn't want to just feature one versus the other. We'll have to see what the reasoning is. I'm sure somebody will report what the official reasoning is, but we'll see. So then we get a Firefly Funhouse segment and Bray and Alexa. And Bray talks down the Miz, but he says he wants to help him with his issues, offering a super special lesson in manners. And then Alexa adds that it will be Bray versus the Miz tonight. And Bray notes that Miz doesn't want to see his bad side as a video of the Fiend flashes on screen. And then Bray notes that while he hasn't had much time to prepare for his match, all of his friends will help. First, Bray puts on a blindfold as Huskus and the Buzzard creep up behind him, and then Bray smacks them, working on his agility. Next is spelling. Bray is asked to spell the word jackass. And then I like when he's like, oh, can you use it in a sentence? And then Abby goes, just spell the word jackass. And he's like, oh, okay. M-A-S-S. M-I-Z. So I like that because as soon as they said jackass, I knew he was going to say M-I-Z. So that was good. And then next he plays darts and he's hitting Rambling Rabbit in the chest with a bullseye. And then he's like, okay, now I'm prepared and we'll see everyone soon, by the end of the segment. So good Firefly Funhouse segment. Those are usually a home run for me. I always enjoy them. And then we see the Hurt Business. They're entering the ring and they're getting ready for their tag team championship match against the New Day. So then MVP takes the mic and he says at Sunday at Survivor Series, you will see the best of the best. And there's no one better than the Hurt Business. MVP says Bobby Lashley will squeeze the life out of Sami Zayn. Shelton Benjamin takes the mic, noting that him and Cedric are going to take the Raw Tag Team Championships tonight. MVP concludes by saying that they will own all the gold and be sure that SmackDown is out of business. So then the New Day enter, and this is where it goes downhill. If the New Day could cut a promo as good as they could wrestle, I'd love the New Day. That's the only thing I don't like about them. Their promo is so weak, and I think it's because they're supposed to be extremely kid-friendly, which I guess, hey, I understand, but, hey, this is like a wrestling show where you're fighting, and the Hurt Business is who they are. You could be a little more serious to kind of fit the tone here. But, Woods tells them that they're going to bring it down. Kofi adds that everything the Hurt Business says is a lie, minus Survivor Series being the best of the best, or the best versus the best. And he said it won't be Cedric and Shelton, but your boys, the New Day. And then Kofi tells the Hurt Business that they've been telling a bunch of lies and are jerks. Do something about it, says MVP. And then Kofi makes an awful joke calling the Hurt Business the jerk business. See what he's like, oh, don't interrupt me, MVP, my punchline. Damn. He's like, you don't even let me finish. It's like, can you not complain that he didn't let you finish? And can you just finish your awful promo? So then he calls him the jerk business. And then Woods does the vintage, like, who line and then ends with the New Day rock. So after we get through that awful promo, by the New Day, we finally get this match. And let me tell you, this match was great. Besides the main event, this was definitely the best match on the card of the night, whatever you want to call it. This was really good. All four of these guys, fantastic. And the Hurt Business dominated early on. They pretty much isolated Woods. Of course, Kofi, the commentary even said it, former WWE champ. He's the one who you're going to want to look strong in this. But, I mean, really good. And just Shelton Benjamin, like, we can't say enough good things about him on this channel. The guy is, like, 40-something? And then, he wrestles better than 80% of the roster. So, I mean, this guy's great. But at the end of this thing, Cedric goes for the lumbar check, but Kofi reverses it into a super kick. And then a Trouble in Paradise. Wood tags in and lands the Daybreak from the top for the win. Like I said, fantastic match. This is one you go back and you watch this thing, if you can find it somewhere, even just watch the highlights because it's great. This and the main event, definitely the best matches of the night. And then when we come back, we see Sheamus and Drew are chatting. Sheamus reminds him how close they are, and he shows him something. He brings up like a big chest, and he's like, this has been lost for years. Drew opens it up, and it's a bunch of Scottish garb, which has, Drew, he's starting to get emotional. I believe, obviously he's Scottish. I don't know if it was something like just historical or maybe something that belonged to his family specifically, but, he starts to get emotional. Sheamus hands him a claymore, which it's a giant sword, which, obviously Claymore kicks. So that's where he gets it from. And then, he looks at the weapon, really holding it. I'm like, can he please go and just behead Roman Reigns or something with that? No, just kidding. But how funny, he brings that to the ring for an Extreme Rules match. No DQ. Let me just bring out my giant sword. But no, I mean, this is cool. And then especially what we saw at the main event, fantastic. So, and one thing of note here, Sheamus is complete babyface with Drew, and then with the other guys, he's like a heel. But I don't know. Ever since he called Matt Riddle dopey, to me, he'll be a babyface for life. So, then to the ring where AJ, he's entering for commentary for this match. And then we see Mustafa Ali in Retribution, and Ali says that even a king can take down a pawn. While Reckoning reminds the viewers that she already took out Dana Brooke, Ali notes that all of the Raw team are spineless cowards, ready to stab each other in the back, and Ali says that at his side, he just has to stand back and let them fall. So back to the ring where the rest of the Raw team enters, starting with Braun Strowman, and then Retribution makes their way to the ring. So we get Retribution versus Braun Strowman, Sheamus, Matt Riddle, and Keith Lee. And this match was all right. I mean, it's following that great tag match with another tag match, and it wasn't as good because there was just too many bodies in it. But I mean, this thing was really good. There was Keith Lee looked dominant. There was a spot he was going to choke slam T-Bar and Mace on the outside, but then Ali came in and dived and kicked him into the announce desk face first. And then, so Ali looked strong in this. Like I said, Keith Lee looked good, but that kind of like took him out. And then they did the whole famous thing where it's like, I think Sheamus made the tag in, and then Braun Strowman made the tag in, and then they were yelling at each other. And then Matt Riddle made the tag in to end it. And then Matt Riddle got shoved into I think he just got shoved into Strowman, and then Strowman like knocked Sheamus off the apron or something. But then Ali rolled him up 1, 2, 3. So Ali wins this thing for Retribution. And I mean, there was some good spots in the match as well, like Slapjack and Matt Riddle. They had some, really good back and forth going on. It was just too many bodies, too many people all over the place for me. And like I said, I'm really not a fan of this, having the Raw team fight with each other. I'd rather see them be a unit and put on a good match at Survivor Series. So like I said, Ali takes the win for Retribution. And then back, we see Nikki Cross, and she's being interviewed, and she says she has to get to Alexa before the Fiend can. She's like, I know my friend is in there. That was not her talking last week. So, where is she? She wants to find her and help her. So then, after that, I believe, like I said, it's Sarah Schreiber. And then she goes over, here's Jeff Hardy. And she's like, Jeff, she's like, are you all right? Like, you seem upset. And he's ripping down this poster. And he's like, look at this. And he's like, it's pretty much a poster of like the car accident. And he's like, the contact number is 555 Amen. Meaning Elias, and then, made the poster, and he says that he's about to give Elias the big break he's been looking for. So then we go to commercial. When we come back, Elias, he's practicing in the locker room, and then Hardy comes in, and he's like, what's your deal with these, flyers? And then Elias says that, the powers that be, they haven't apprehended the culprit yet, and that it was clearly Hardy. So then Jeff Hardy gets pissed, and he's like innocent till proven guilty, and he slams him up in the corner of the locker room. He grabbing him by the beard because he doesn't really have like a collar to grab. So I'm like, that must be awkward to have somebody grab you by the beard. But he grabs him, and he's like, if you keep accusing me of something I didn't do, I'll be found guilty of a lot worse than hitting you with a car. Can I get an amen, brother? So just like the intensity from Jeff here was really good. And just Elias looked like he was like kind of like laughing, but also like shitting and pissing his pants at the same time. He looked scared. So this was really good. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this feud, just the intensity from Jeff Hardy here alone, I'm like, okay, I want to see Jeff, kick his ass. So we'll see what they go from here. I don't think they're going to be a match at Survivor Series or anything like that. So I don't know. See, if you wanted to have a real like, people feuding on the Survivor Series team, you would have put Jeff and Elias both on the team. That at least would have made sense. But then we go to the ring, and the Miz and Morrison enter, and the Miz notes that the pair haven't seen eye to eye in the past, touching on the demonic doll that Bray sent to his house months ago, and he wants it to be water under the bridge. However, he's like, there's no reason for tonight's match to happen, and Miz wants to find a peaceful solution, and he brings up Orton and Drew's match, and he says that we should work together to make our dreams come true. And then Alexa enters chuckling while he says, she says that the Fiend says no, or Bray says no, rather. And then Nikki Cross comes out. She's trying to get Alexa to come with her, and she says, you're right. And then she slaps her and then just starts beating the shit out of her. Why can't we see this intensity from Alexa Bliss when she's in the ring? So, but she'll never be in the ring again, so we're good. And then she starts Bray Wyatt's music starts playing as she's beating her up. And then the officials actually come in, they pull him off, and then Bray enters because he gives Nikki Cross this death stare. He like looks at her like if looks could kill, she'd be dead. And then he sees Alexa Bliss, and he's all like, oh, hey. He's like smiling like, half the internet was before she got engaged. Now they all look at, her the way that Bray looked at Nikki Cross. So they link arms, and they make their way down to the ring for this match. And this match, it wasn't bad. A lot of people are like, really? Like, do we want to see this feud because of what the Miz just said? TLC and everything, when they had their feud last year. So do we want to see this? Not really, I guess, because the Fiend is so like such a new character. It's not like he had this feud, in like 2013, and now it's 7 years later. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can revisit it, that's fine. But when it's like not even a year old, it's like, But this match did what it needed to do. Pretty much, the Miz had like really barely any offense. The Fiend was kicking his ass, and there was a point where I guess the Miz or something was looking at Alexa Bliss because he's like, don't look at her. And he gets like pissed off, and then he grabs him and he starts, beating the shit out of him. And then he hits a standing Uranagi. And then he goes in the corner, goes to do his like spider or like crab thing where he falls, walks backwards on his hands and stuff. And then Morrison grabs his ankle. And then he looks at Morrison, gives him the same look he gave Nikki Cross. And Morrison's like, whoa, hey, like, that's my bad. You want to go, kill the Miz? That's cool. And then Alexa Bliss jumps on him, tackles him over the barricade. And then at that point, Bray looks at Alexa because he's like, oh, my God, are you okay? Miz kind of does like a jumping, like just almost not like a splash, but like a jumping, like knee strike, crossbody thing in the corner. So on to Bray, and then he's just hanging there in the corner like, all right, like I got the advantage now. And Bray's like, oh, do you? Grabs him, walks him to the middle of the ring. Sister Abigail, 1, 2, 3. Winner, Bray Wyatt. So I like that. And, this match was good because they're really, really hammering that, that Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, like, connection or relationship or whatever you want to call it. He's extremely, protective of her. You could see that Nikki Cross confronted her. He wanted to kill her. She was the one who actually tackled Morrison over the barricade, but he was still freaking out. Not like, oh, she's beating him up. He was, wanted to see if she was okay. So maybe that's how they'll beat the Fiend, unless you're Goldberg or Roman Reigns or whoever. I think Edge will be good because it seems like spears are consistent. So Edge could probably beat the Fiend. So we'll see. But I like this match for what it was. It made Bray look good. I just don't want to see a feud out of this. And then as a pair attempt to walk off hand in hand, the Fiend's image appears on the screen, and then the lights go out. Then we get a video package of Drew versus Randy Orton for tonight, and the package showcases pretty much everything that Drew had to overcome early in his career. And then the theme is that no two stories are the same. And then the video package shifts to Randy Orton, 14-time champion. Nothing will stop him from fulfilling his preordained legacy. And tonight will be the final chapter in the pair's long-term feud. So not at a pay-per-view, not at anything like that, on a Monday Night Raw. And a lot of people are like, really? Like, why wasn't this, the blow-off on a pay-per-view or something like that? Not saying drag it out, but maybe at Hell in a Cell should have been the end of it, and Drew should have went over. But you got to think, doing big blow-off matches at pay-per-views really only made sense when, people were paying $60 for the pay-per-view. People pay $10 for the network a month. So it don't matter if, your pay-per-views are good or they're shit because, it's $10. It's $10. It's not like you're paying 60. So, you don't need to save special things for pay-per-views because nobody's paying big bucks for pay-per-views anymore. So so I'm like, when WWE does a good match, as long as I get to see it, and Rope Break covers everything, so we always see it. But this was really good. And then they just, after they, do the video package, then backstage, Adam Pearce, he provides an update on Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and he says that will be Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. And then we transition to Asuka. She's being interviewed about her match against Sasha Banks, and she says that she will win because nobody's ready for Asuka. Again, really goofy, really hyper. I wish we could see Asuka a little bit more toned down and serious, but hey, she's the champ. She's being portrayed good in her matches and everything, so I guess I can't complain too much. Then Orton is interviewed now, and he says that he has a long list of distractions tonight, including Drew, Bray, and The Miz. He tells Charlie Caruso that he doesn't want to be on that long list of distractions and leaves. In the back, we get Angel Garza, who talks about all the roses in his garden, which are thorns. Garza sees himself as a thorn on the roses, and he's willing to inflict pain to defend their beauty. Again, like, until we see this guy wrestle and beat Bobby Lashley or have some mid-card title, because he's clearly like nowhere. He can't even smell the WWE title picture. So this guy, like, the only thing is mid-card title for the foreseeable future, especially being pegged with this Latin lover gimmick. So then backstage, we see Nia Jax and Shayna. They're discussing the new layout for the team. Peyton and Lacey appear. They want to talk strategy, but they're brushed off. And Jax says that the new team, this is the worst idea since Quibi. I don't know what that is, so excuse my ignorance, I guess. So then to the ring where the WWE Championship is going to be on the line. Drew McIntyre enters, and this was the best thing. He comes out with his kilt, with that giant claymore. He walks, he stabs the claymore in the ground. Obviously, they have a little pedestal or something. Flame, fireworks, everything shoot off. This was so cool. I like this. To me, was just like one of the greatest entrances. This should have been WrestleMania. If they would have had Broken Dreams playing, I probably would have, busted in my pants. I'm just going to say, like, this would have been the best thing ever. So this was awesome. And then, Randy Orton, obviously the WWE champion, he comes out last, as he should. Then he makes his entrance to the ring. This match was fantastic. They had 20-some minutes when Drew started making his entrance, 20, 25 minutes, commercial and everything. This match was about 19, 20 minutes long, and this was fantastic. I enjoyed this actually more than Hell in a Cell, and I enjoyed Hell in a Cell more than Clash of Champions. So then that shows you, boom, this was probably my favorite match of the whole feud. And maybe it's because Drew was chasing. I said I always love when the baby face is, chasing versus, he's the champion defending. I think it's a much better story. And this match was great. Drew started off super strong, and it looked like this match was going to be 5 minutes and done. And then Randy Orton, he thought the same thing. He's like, fuck this. He grabs his title. He goes to leave. And, just as he's walking away, I think Drew threw him back in the ring, and then Drew went for a Claymore. Randy Orton ducked it, quick grabbed the title again, started walking off. Adam Pearce was like, no. You put your hands on me last week, so now I'm going to put my hands on you in a way. He didn't say that, but that's probably like his mindset. He's like, you know what, I'm going to screw you over because you said you don't care about fines. Well, how about you care about this? This match is a no disqualification, no count out, and the only way a winner can be determined is by pinfall or submission. So Randy Orton's like, shit. So then he goes back to the ring. But at this point, actually, the match turns in the favor of Randy Orton because he grabs chairs and everything, starts beating up Drew. They keep doing back suplexes and throwing each other on the announce table. This time, after Nia Jax broke it, they put a real announce table out there, not a gimmick one, so it wouldn't break. But this was really, really good. Randy Orton eventually set up a table, which he ended up getting knocked through when Drew made his comeback. Glasgow kisses and stuff. It really good, offense by Drew. But like I said, Orton dominated pretty much the middle of this match. And then towards the end, it started to flip back and forth. Eventually, when he got put through that table, then Drew started to take over. But the ending sequence of this was really good. Randy Orton goes for the RKO. Drew ducks it, pushes him. They hit the ropes. Drew hits the other ropes, flies in with the Claymore. 1, 2, 3. And probably the best part of the night, like I was laughing so bad. 1, 2, 3. And as soon as it was 3, ding, 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 you see Randy Orton's hand on Drew McIntyre's butt. He taps him. He's like, good match, man. Good match. So, this was great. And it's like, people are like, but, what the hell? This guy's like, what is he? Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks? He had a 2-week title run. Hey, this is the whole thing. Drew McIntyre is the guy. We know that. I said in the beginning, he is, 1A or 1B. For me, he's 1A. He is the top guy. Then I would put Roman after him. Not the biggest Roman fan, but hey, you got to give, credit where credit's due. So that is, Drew's the guy. And Randy Orton, with this great feud he had, let him be the 14-time champ. If it's 2 weeks, you looked at some of his other title reigns. I think one of them 3 days or 1 day or something like that, 2 days. He had some 14 days. He had some 2-digit days, under 30-day title reigns before. So, hey, he's a 14-time champ. You rewarded him for giving this great feud. The best thing with Edge, then going right into this with Drew, and when he was with Ric Flair, it was his manager, beating people up. Ever since, I guess you could say, he became the legend killer again. Really great stuff. So he deserves that title reign, even though it was short. But like I said, Drew is the guy. And the match at Survivor Series, that's the money match. Now, if Randy would have went over, you could have had Drew maybe interfere in that match or something, cause Roman to lose, which, I don't know. He's like, oh, he's not heel, but, he hates Roman, or he causes Randy to lose or in something. I don't know. You could have had him interfere, but that's not going to be the case. We're going to see Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. That match will be great. Like I said, 1A, 1B, the two top guys going at it. It's like Rock and Stone Cold. I'm not saying they're as good as that, but that is like the same feel WWE is trying to give you, because I don't think there'll ever be a Rock versus Stone Cold or like a Rock versus Hogan or anything like that. Again, just wrestling isn't as big, but this is the similar feel as WWE is able to present it. So guys, really good episode of Monday Night Raw. Like I said, the women's match, a little stinker. The New Day promo almost made, put me to sleep, but really good show. This was a fantastic for modern WWE, fantastic go-home show. I'm excited as hell for Survivor Series. This is always one of my favorites because we get to see these champion versus champion matches. So we're, Rope Break's going to cover it. And speaking of Rope Break covering it, I just want to say we are close to 500 subscribers. And we couldn't be, you know, happier. And we just want to thank each and every one of you. So please share the channel, you know, subscribe if you haven't. If you're new, obviously like, and, you know, please spread the word of Rope Break. And, you know, we're going to have some special 500,000, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10,000, you know, we're just going to keep growing, and it's all thanks to you guys. So thank you so much. Follow us on all the social media. Of course, not just here on the #1 podcast, the original Rope Break on YouTube, but on Facebook, under Rope Break, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, and of course, the original Rope Break on Instagram. So guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time with NXT, and hopefully our girl Io Shirai is still the NXT Women's Champion. Adaaaaaa.